Hey everybody, welcome to the I'm your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, I am talking to Carrie Thompson. Welcome, Carrie. So excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Finally, we got our rescheduled time together.
Yes. So let's start with just telling us a little bit about who Carrie is.
Well, that is totally a loaded question, I feel like, and there's so many answers to it.
Well, you just give us whichever answer you want.
Okay.
We're not going to know the difference.
This is very true. Well, right now I am an author and a CPA, a proud cat mom, and a friend and a daughter. And a sister. I love your kitty. He looks like is it a girl or a boy?
A boy.
Yeah, my mom's cat's a boy and his name's Atticus. He's all black like that.
This is Neo. He is the three-legged kitty.
I love that.
He's not supposed to be in the basement, but he followed me. So now he won't stop whining, which means he gets to be a part of the show and sit on my lap. So we'll have lots of cattail up in here today.
Hey, that works for me. Mine just ran away. He's watching the deer and the squirrels outside. So.
Oh, and what is his name?
His name is Albie, after Albus Severus Dumbledore. He's a Harry Potter kitty. I should add that to my who I am.
Yeah.
Harry Potter nerd to the core.
Oh my goodness. So is my husband and my kid, which has inadvertently made me one. You might hate me and want to stop the interview now. I'm not actually a Harry Potter fan, but I've watched the movies a bajillion times, so I know them quite well. I've never read the books because I'm not a true fan, but my kid was obsessed with Harry Potter, and we watched numbers 4, 5, 6 every day for 3 years straight.
That's amazing. So, very dedicated.
Yes. Yeah. Dedicated or annoying. I'm not sure which. Depends who you ask.
Hey, at least you didn't have to watch like Frozen every single day.
Oh no, that's when my grandson comes over. He goes, fra, fra, fra. So it's Frozen, and then it's Frozen 2, and then it's Frozen 1, and then it's Frozen 2, and then and it's just on repeat. Especially when he's teething. It's the only thing that calms him down when he's teething.
That's so funny.
So now that we've got the fun stuff out of the way, let's go to the hard stuff and talk about mental health.
I'm always down to do that.
Neo says yes. Okay, one last funny thing before we get to the hard stuff. So because he only has 3 legs, he's missing his front right leg. And it's because he was missing one of the bones in his leg, so the Humane Society thought it'd be better to take it off. So because he's missing it, he doesn't have great balance when he's like trying to lay on your lap, right? Because legs are all like at funny angles and stuff. So I kind of am holding him in place so he doesn't fall, but he just keeps wiggling around. He's a very wiggly guy, and it's funny. So that was my little funny note. Now we'll talk about hard stuff. Because if you don't like animals, then I don't know how you watch my shows. I love my animals. They have their own TikTok.
Oh my gosh, I need to totally follow. I'm like all about animals, especially cats. Like I can talk about cats and look at cats all day.
Yes, I have 4 cats and 2 dogs, and they have their own TikTok. So to follow them, you follow at Fred, Daff, and the Gang. So FREDDAPH and the Gang.
Yeah, I will be doing that as soon as we can.
And it's just them doing cute animal things. So that was the end of the episode. Thanks for knowing. All right. Seriously, guys, we're gonna actually get to this time. All right, I'm in a really fun, silly mood right now. I don't know why. I'm just like in a really weird mood. But we're gonna talk mental health. So tell us, before I get off on another sidetrack, tell us what mental health you have experienced.
So I have generalized anxiety disorder. I also have a little bit of OCD and a little bit of PTSD, but generalized anxiety is like the main offender.
Do you feel the need to qualify to the extent that you have OCD and PTSD, right? Because you said I have a little bit of, instead of just saying I have.
I feel like it's a little bit discounting of people that actually suffer with those, to say that I fully have them, because I don't have them to the extent where I have focused treatment for those areas, if that makes sense.
It does. But I'm going to play devil's advocate, and
Sure.
people may agree with you. They might agree with me. No, but I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Is that discounting the struggle that you're actually going through? To look at
I
it
feel
in
like
a
that
different
could
way.
be. And I'm not afraid to like own that I have them. Like that's not part of it. I'm not ashamed of, I mean, I used to be so like afraid and ashamed of like my mental health struggles that I had, and like especially with the things I was diagnosed with. But I think it's just like because the anxiety has been like such a large part of my life and has been the thing that's affected me the most. That's probably why I focus on that, but I don't discount the fact that I have the other two.
Because it almost sounds very discounting. And I say that
Yeah.
from like a personal way too, because I even pause because I have to think about it before I say it. I am a cancer survivor. I pause because, like you, at first I was struggling with the, well, other people had it worse, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have to, I was really lucky. I didn't have to go through chemo. I didn't have to go through radiation. But what I've learned with my therapy and all that stuff is that by doing that, I was really discounting what I went through, because the emotional part of just being told you have cancer is the same as everyone else. Yeah, I had surgery. They were able to take out the bad parts, and then I was good. But the emotional roller coaster, I guess, that I was on, it was the same. It just maybe ended faster than some of the other people's.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, it took me a long time to say I was a cancer survivor, because I was like, I just had surgery, whatever. But it could have been worse, and it could always come back, right? Like that is something I've already been tested, because I was having issues with something else, and they're like, no, it's something else. Okay, good. And then I realized, yeah, I should not discount the fact that I did have cancer. It took a lot of thinking about it and perspective change. So that's why I was playing devil's advocate with you, just because I know I struggled with that. So I wondered if that was part of it.
No, I mean, I definitely think that that was like an actually really good example too. And like not to divert from like my own experience and struggle, but like what you're saying is 1000% like what my mom does and what she is going through, because she is a breast cancer survivor. Like she got very lucky like you did, where it was just like she had a lumpectomy. They did do like some preventative radiation just like in case, but there was no spread, nothing. And like she just pretends it never existed, and because like it wasn't as bad as other people.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand where you're coming from, because it drives me crazy with her. And I'm like, Mom, like you're a cancer survivor. Like we sent her flowers in October, and she was like, and we sent her flowers on like her 1 year of being cancer free, which is like the day of her surgery. And she was like, you guys shouldn't do that. I don't want to like whatever. I'm like, Mom, you're literally being ridiculous, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, because that's where I was, and I had to learn to accept it. Oh, there he is.
Say hi, bud. Nope, no, Mom, I'm going away now.
I don't want to be on camera. You don't give me my own TikTok, I'm not being on your show either. But yeah, so it's a really big mindset change, because people would say, oh, it's so good that you made it through or whatever, and it made me feel like weird. I can't even put it into words. It felt weird, but then now I own it, and I'm like, okay, yeah. Not to discount that other people's, like my aunt had to go through, she had breast cancer, but unfortunately it was much more progressed than my mom's by the sounds of it. She had to go through chemo, and she lost her and everything like that. So it's not to discount that she had a longer journey, but there was a point that I was thinking, oh my gosh, who's going to raise my kids if this doesn't work? And every time I get an unknown pain, I'm like, is it back?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I do that too. But just because she had cancer, then
Yeah.
I'm like, I messaged my best friend yesterday. She's a nurse practitioner. I was like, my boob hurts. Like, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're literally fine.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry.
Yeah. So generalized anxiety disorder. Can you explain to people what that is? Because a lot of people simply say anxiety. So what is generalized anxiety?
So I think a lot of people, and I like to explain it like this because this is how my therapist explained it to me, because I was just as guilty of like using the term anxiety as most people are. And I think like people throw around the word anxiety a lot, but like 9 times out of 10, when people are saying, actually, I'll say 99 out of 100 times people are saying they have anxiety, it's really stress.
Or they're feeling anxious, right? You can feel
anxious, but you can feel anxious, but if you're feeling anxious, you're probably scared or stressed, or
True. Yeah.
you can even like feeling anxious can even be excited. It's the same feeling. It's just what thought patterns and thought like path you're going to go down. Because you could be like anxious to see someone, anxious to go on a first date, anxious to meet your new baby, but that's exciting.
Yeah.
Anxiousness. But the true difference between like feeling stress and feeling and being like truly having anxiety, or feeling anxious and truly having anxiety, is that anxiety doesn't have an identifiable cause. So the difference between stress and anxiety is stress has an identifiable cause that you can target. It's something that you know that there's usually like a definitive period of time that you're going to be experiencing this emotion or these feelings, and there's a reason for them. So right now, I've been feeling very anxious every day. Some of it is anxiety, things I cannot identify, but I'm selling my house and buying a new one. So, like,
That's a
that is
lot.
stressful,
Yeah.
but that's stress. That's not anxiety. Anxiety has no identifiable cause. It's waking up in the middle of the night, terrified for no reason. And anxiety, also, you should know, is all fear based. So, it's fear of the unknown, fear of what you can't predict, what you have no control over, but it doesn't have any root in truth. So if it's something you can identify, you're just stressed, and there's ways to mediate that, or a way to see like a path through, because it usually will end at some point. But with anxiety, it's usually you have no idea why you're worrying about it. It's probably like a fear-based reaction to something. And it's a lot harder to control than a stress situation, because you don't like, you can't control it.
Yeah. That's a great way to explain it. I really like that. When did you first notice that you were struggling with this?
So when I was taking the CPA exam, right out of grad school, so right before graduation, I started taking the CPA exam, and this was like I started studying in late 2015 and started taking the tests in 2016. Oh my gosh, sorry. Somebody
That's
just
okay.
rang the doorbell and my baby is crying. But so in 2016, I was taking these CPA exams, and I am a perfectionist. This is where this is where my OCD comes in. So I don't have OCD like I need to like touch the door so many times or wash my hands so many times. Like, that's my best friend has that type, where she will have to like check to make sure her car door is locked like a certain amount of times before she's comfortable or whatever. For me, it's all in how I operate my life. So my OCD like really came into play with my testing situation. So it was, I had to study so many hours, I had to sit there this many hours, I needed to get this good of a score on the practice, I needed to do this many homeworks, I needed to finish this many lessons every day. It was just like
That's
a
stressful.
lot. And you need a 75 to pass. Unless you get 100%, which you get like special accolades for, you literally don't need more than 75. Like, that's passing. No
So
one
it's
cares.
it's
what
like
they-
75 or 100 because you get accolades at 100, but anything in between is kind of like,
it's all the same.
all right.
But because of how I am and like being a perfectionist and being OCD, I would not settle for less than 100. Like that was where I was, even though it was like so far unrealistic. Cause like I'm a smart person, but like I'm not 100 smart. Like that's really crazy for these types of exams. So I started like the first test, I was okay. The second test, I was okay. But by the third one, like while I was studying, I started having panic attacks in the middle of the night. And I legitimately thought I was having like heart problems, obviously, because I had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's when I ended up going to the doctor, getting diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and my little bit of OCD, as my doctor likes to say. Um, and that's when I finally started to put a name to what was going on. But obviously, like back then, I wasn't accepting of it. And I still felt like such an outcast. Now, like, oh my gosh. Cause like at the time, like, let me also add this because I feel like it's super important for
Yeah.
people that have like mental health struggles or just like any struggle in life. Um, I was in a period for a long time, like probably most of my life, where I was having like very low confidence, very low self-esteem, and I just didn't I never felt comfortable in my own skin. It was always like, what can I do to improve or what do I need to change about myself? And so having like another thing wrong with me per se just added to that. So it's like
Yeah.
I already feel like I'm not good enough in all aspects of life, which is why I always felt the need to like over exceed in my academic life. But now I have this new thing that I was so ashamed of and so embarrassed to like tell people.
Yeah. When did you start owning it?
Honestly, after I had my mental breakdown in like 2019,
Oh,
2020.
all right. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So in 2016, like I'll just go back there for a brief second. I started on anxiety meds for a short time. They gave me Zoloft. They aggressively increased the dose. I ended up having suicidal thoughts on it. It was terrifying
I
experience.
think
Probably
that's
the
what
worst.
I'm on.
Well, here's the thing with anxiety medication and or like any SSRI, and you have to make sure that I wrote about this in my book where it's like, make sure you're seeing somebody that's like specialized in providing antidepressants or whatever type of medication for mental health. Like you need to see a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I went to my GP and like they're good. They have a toolbox full of many tools for
Mhm.
different things and they all are surface level like qualified to help you with those things. But when you're doing stuff with your like brain chemicals, you need to have somebody with a toolbox only for brain chemical stuff. And
Yeah.
I
That's
didn't
why we
do
have
that.
them. Yeah.
Right. And like I didn't educate myself because I was in just such a state where it was just like I just wanted it to go away. And the problem was like she increased the dose so fast and like everyone's different.
Yeah.
I'm someone that needs like a very, very reserved, gradual approach to
Yeah. That's what we did. Very
yeah,
small.
exactly. So we didn't do that, which is like what led to that. So anyone listening, if you are thinking about doing antidepressants or any type of medication, definitely see a psychiatrist and make sure that you're taking the time you need because
Mhm.
it can affect your whole life. But that happened to me and I swore off meds and everything, which I wanted to tell that part and before we get to the next part.
Yeah.
So,
It sounds like an important part. And actually, my kid, so my kid is on antidepressants now.
mhm.
And he started having a lot of issues. Well, I mean, kind of had issues forever, but like major issues around the age of 8. And They tried ADHD meds, that didn't work. Then they tried some anti-anxiety, that didn't work. Suicidal thoughts, ended up in the hospital. Then we tried.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that for a child.
It's been a long journey for him. And then there was something else. He was probably on, over the course of 4 years, like 5, 6 different meds that didn't work. So he was like, I'm not taking anything else. Same thing with you. I'm just not doing it. Like, I've tried, I'm not doing it. Luckily, he has learned a lot of coping skills and understands why certain medications do or do not work for him. And now he's found something that really does work. So it's good. And it can be a long process. So I totally got what you mean. Like, I didn't have to do it myself, but I saw how it affected my son, and just, I understand why he swore off meds. Although as the mom, I was kind of like, but let's just try one more, because you need it.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's so scary. It really is. It's such a process. So I learned that way later on, but like at the time swore it off.
Yeah.
So during the period between like 2016 and 2019, I was like in and out of therapy based on like how I was feeling. So when I was fine, I would like leave therapy, but really like I shouldn't have been. I should have stayed in therapy. But things just progressively got worse. I wasn't doing the work I needed to do in therapy. I wasn't putting the effort in that I needed to outside of therapy. And I was just allowing myself to become overwhelmed. Like, I was working so much. Like, the hours were insane. I was bartending on the weekends. I was trying to make time for friends. I was drinking way too much, partying way too much. And it just wasn't good for me personally. Like, nothing against people drinking and partying. I drink and party still to this day, but like, it was just excessive. And then finally at the end of 2019, I had like a full on mental breakdown to the point where I had to live with my parents for 3 months, and like right into 2020. And that was like during the time that I was finally like, okay, like I'm going to start talking about this and acknowledging it's part of my life, because I had no choice. So like while I'm living with my parents, I'm unable to drive myself anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere by myself. I had started medication again, which ended up working out because I got a psychiatrist this go around. But it was crazy because like I started talking about it and owning it because I didn't have a choice. In order to see friends and do things and go to work, I had to explain to people what was going on.
So when you started talking about it, obviously it wasn't an easy thing to start doing because you were trying to hide it. But after a while, how did it make you feel?
So I actually am like pretty proud of it now. And then it was weird at first. So like at first I was a little bit weird about it and like telling people, but it actually felt kind of freeing eventually.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for people to speak up and speak out about this stuff, because it's just a little part of you. It's not everything that you are. We're not defined by it. It's just something that we have to deal with.
Oh, for sure. I mean, a big part of like why I wrote my book is because I want to encourage people to like definitely speak up and speak out about it, because my belief is the more people that talk about it and spread the word, the like faster we can break down the stigmas. And I think that was like a huge issue for me in the beginning, where there were so many stigmas around it. And especially like growing up in a time when I did during like the 90s and early 2000s, it's just like nobody talked about it. Nobody in my family talked about mental health. Like, mental health is a buzzword now, people love to talk about it and like talk about their mental health, but that like was never a thing. So I was like the first one of my friends to ever like really come out and talk about it. And since then, I have had like so many people come to me and tell me like, oh my gosh, Carrie, I never knew you were going through that. I couldn't have imagined. Like, you just seem like XYZ way.
Yeah.
I have been going through it too. I've been on medication since I was younger. it's just like insane the amount of people that have come to me and told me things, men and women. And like, I
That's
feel like it's even
awesome.
a bigger stigma for men because like
Yeah. Men don't cry.
boys aren't allowed to cry. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I like that's an even bigger issue to me where it's like men aren't like allowed to talk about mental health and have feelings. Like everyone has feelings. It's weird to me to meet men. Like I'm single and like I guess dating. I don't go on any dates, but like I would be going on dates. I would go on dates. But like I'm always a little off put to like men that aren't okay. Do I want a sensitive Sally that's always crying? No, that's just not for me because I'm not that way. But like,
Yeah.
if you don't express emotion and can't have conversations about stuff like that, like to me, that's like kind of a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So my husband is kind of he's kind of like that a weird mix. So we've been together for 14 years and I have seen him cry a total of 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, he never ever discounts how I'm feeling or how the kids are feeling or
Yeah.
mental health or anything because he deals with his own mental health in his way. Right? Like he has anxiety, a little bit, like not, see, I just did what you did and qualified it, but
I
that's because he does
know.
it. Um, but for him, again, he grew up in a family that you don't talk about it. But again, I think that was how, like you were kind of all, I think we're all in the same generation, grew up 90s, early
Yeah.
2000s. That's how it was. But yeah, he's this weird mix of strong guy, but also has that softer side. You have to get past his looking like a mean exterior because he's actually not. But he just constantly has that look of pissed offness.
RBF.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know if that term was used for boys too.
I mean, I do, whatever.
It's all
Well, I think
good.
this is like such an important topic to discuss. And like, I feel like this could just bleed into so many areas, especially people have to address or like recognize that everybody has a feminine side and a masculine side, and it's finding what balance works for you and recognizing it's okay to be some of the other, whatever you don't identify with. And I think
Exactly.
people in the LGBTQ plus community are really great at that because like they embrace who they feel like they are
Yeah.
based on how they identify, and they embrace like both sides of that. So maybe you're trans and you were born a woman, but like you identify as a man, and but you recognize like both pieces of that of who you are, and you've actually examined that and worked through what that is for you, and you own both pieces and how they work for you now as an adult, and how you identify. I mean, not even an adult. I love that like the world is coming to a place where kids can talk about how they feel about their identity. I
So
think it's so cool.
my kid actually is trans. So
That's so
it's funny that you're
awesome.
bringing that up. Um, and so born a girl and I think it's been 2 years now, I want to say, maybe around there. Came out as a boy. So that's why I keep saying my son, my son, my son. Because yeah, he's right in that community and he's embraced both sides. And he still likes to cosplay, which back in the 90s, we didn't really call it cosplay, we just called it dressing up.
Dressing up, yeah.
Right? He just dressed up. But cosplay is the thing now, right? He embraces that part of it. And it's just, he is who he is. And that's what I said. I'm like, you do you.
I think it's just like such a healthier way to allow your children to develop, and like even just in general, like your child doesn't need to be born and identify like to identify as trans or gay or like come out with those things. Like it doesn't matter. But I think it's like so much better to allow your child to like explore both sides of masculine and feminine. Like boys don't have to just play with trucks, and
No,
girls don't
exactly.
just have to play with dolls, you know. It's just
Yeah.
like I think it's so cool that a lot of parents now and people now are realizing like assigning like these gender specific things to boys and girls, it's just really not healthy. And like, I think that's why a lot of people in our generation do have so many I mean, everybody has mental health issues now. I mean, especially like teenagers, the pressures of the world change. I
Yeah.
can't just say one thing or the other, but like specifically sticking to this topic, which, you know, you and I have trouble doing. I mean, I do think it's cool. Like there are parents from our generation like you who are allowing your child, and like it's just good for future generations. So like have them embracing both sides of their like feminine and masculine
Yeah.
identities from a young age.
Yeah,
Because
I always did. Like I would have been back in our day, it was called tomboy. I was a tomboy, like
same.
hardcore tomboy. Let me go climb a tree, play in the mud. It's all good. Like that's not feminine, but it's fun. So
I mean,
fun.
that's like how I am too, where it's like I can be super high maintenance girly, but I actually hate being like, I don't love being girly all the time. Like the things that girls have to do annoy me. Like, do I love getting a manicure? And I just got one yesterday and it looks so good. But like, my God, this is like an hour of my day.
Yeah.
And men don't have to do this shit. Like, drives me nuts.
Yeah. Well, I only ever put makeup on if me and my husband are going like on a date, which happens, I don't know, twice a year maybe. Or I'm recording an episode because I think it looks cool on camera. But if you see me walking down the street, I don't think some people would recognize me because I got no makeup on. My hair is not done. It's usually in a ponytail.
Dude, people do that to me all the time. It's like, you're wearing makeup to work. I'm wearing makeup to, well, normally I wouldn't be wearing makeup right now because I'm working at home today, but like I wear makeup to the office. But there have been so many times when like people only know me from like the fitness community and or like my bartending job, which like I do wear makeup to there, but like I'm in a t-shirt, like I'm not dressed up. And then people will see me like dressed up out somewhere with makeup on. They're like, oh my God, I didn't recognize you. I'm like, I know I don't look that different. I don't wear that much makeup. Like,
Yeah, like this is kind of an excessive amount. I put like little wings
I mean, I love
on.
it today.
I was like, okay, so I did it this morning. I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, I gotta get it in the theme. And then I look at them, I love it.
It just like I've been listening to like I've watched like so many TikToks about that new Olivia Rodrigo song, The Good For You. Okay, well, it's like kind of sounds like literally the same music from one of these Paramore songs, and it's like my inner punk rock girl, and that's the vibe you're giving me today. Is that punk rock girl vibe? I'm loving it.
Loving the punk rock vibe, and I'm loving the punk rock. Actually, I just on TikTok I found Citizen Soldier band. So good. You should give him a listen because it gives me the punk rock vibe. I don't know if that's what he calls himself, but and the other best part of him or the band, I say him because on the TikTok you only see him as the singer, but he clearly has a band because there's music. Is that the songs are all mental health.
Oh my God, how fun.
I was just, that's probably why I'm in such a really crazy weird mood, because for the past like half hour I was listening to his stuff on Spotify because I had to look it up and listen to all the other songs, not just 15 seconds on TikTok. While I cleaned my room because everything's just sort of got shoved in there since my brother died. It's just like shove it in my room, just get out of the way.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to him, and yeah, Citizen Soldier, definitely give
I'm writing it down.
Yes, do it because he is like my new favorite to listen to.
Yeah, I need to.
And I say maybe one day if he ever hears this, you let me interview him because songwriting is still writing. Yep, still counts.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yep, songwriting, still writing, so you can be on the show and talk about mental health.
I'm gonna start like tagging you in all of his
yeah,
TikToks.
Do it. Everybody start tagging me in his stuff so that he'll let me interview him because it'd be awesome. So awesome. All I know really about him is that he attempted suicide, I think it says 2016 in the one video that I caught. So I mean, he needs to be on the show.
It's been a rough year for all of us.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah,
we'll just start tagging you and get him to come on.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. So I wanted to ask you too. So we talked a lot about your anxiety. We touched on the OCD, but you did mention some PTSD.
So my therapist is on maternity leave, and I had to switch to a different one at her practice. And I was telling her about this yesterday, and she's the one that's like confirmed that I'm not just like loosely using PTSD, because I hate using that, because like I know we talked about like qualifying your like diagnoses, but I mean, there are people that have fought in war. They have PTSD, like legit, from things, you know what I mean? Or people with like massive trauma. And I didn't really know if I should be calling it PTSD, but I was confirmed yesterday. Actually, my doctor has told me it too, but
But now it's from the brain doctor.
The brain doctor. Yes. And mine is actually considered medical PTSD. So there's like different kinds, like mine specifically is like medical PTSD.
Oh, I didn't know there were different ones.
Girl, me either. I learn something new every day.
That's what I love about the show. I learned so much stuff.
I know. Honest to God, like I couldn't do a podcast by myself, but I would love to co-host a podcast with someone, because I love talking to people. It's so much fun, and you learn so much.
Well, we'll talk. I could do two. I could do one with you. Although, would we ever stay on track? No. But maybe that's what would be fun about it.
Everything I love about my favorite podcast, My Favorite Murder being a super favorite. Yeah, I love them. And it just like, they go on a tangent for like an hour and then the episode starts.
That is hilarious. That is like, as I was starting to get into podcasts and I'm listening to different ones, and then I came across theirs because I love true crime and I love all things horror and that kind of thing. And I'm listening to theirs. I'm like, this is so much fun. And I was like, I need my own podcast. This was a few years ago. And me and my one friend, we tried to do a podcast together, and it was good. Like, we got listeners and stuff, but we weren't feeling it, right? Like, we just didn't have the right, like this one I love and I'm obsessed with doing. But yeah, they're the ones that really got me into this. And I mean, we could tag them too, because technically they're authors too now. They've come out with their own book, and they always talk about mental health advocacy.
Their second book, I think, came out last month, or is coming out this month.
Well, then
I think it's June.
They need to come on this show too.
100%.
Because they are always talking about mental health on the show. It's so important.
You have no idea how many times I've tried to have my marketing girl, Kayla, find like a specific email or a specific address where I can send them my book. Cause I'm like, literally, their podcast and like listening to that was one of the things that gave me like the bravery and made me feel okay about having a mental health disorder and being able to talk about it. Oh, for sure. And it just like, it made me feel more normal. And I hate to say normal, like that's a thing. Nobody is normal, but it did make me, that made me feel like what I was going through was normal. And like, it helped normalize mental health disorders for me. And like, I just love them.
And I know like when they first started their show that they did have like a PO box people could send them stuff to or whatever. So like, I don't know if they still do or not, because they've gotten like huge.
Millions of followers. Yeah. So,
but if I could get them on their show, that'd be like so amazing. It'd be
that's like my dream come true. Dream come true is for them to read my book. Like that is like, I could die happy.
There you go. They can read your book. They can come on my show and we can just all have a party.
I'm like obsessed with this whole idea.
Yes, I love it. Now we just need to start.
Me too.
My favorite murder. I love it.
So great.
Yeah.
I literally don't even remember what we were talking about.
We were talking about PTSD. I remember that.
PTSD. Okay.
Okay. So what you were talking about, like medical PTSD, and I have never heard that that terminology. So explain that one to me, and I guess everyone else is listening.
So medical PTSD is just very simply if your PTSD arises from a medical issue or a medical occurrence, something that happened to you like in your physical body.
Oh, okay.
So
now I'm being nosy. What happened?
Oh yeah. So I'm totally going to tell you.
Okay, good.
So, right around this was like the beginning of 2019. Yeah, I just had left, like my girlfriends and I were about to go on a vacation, and I just like we got our nails done and we went to lunch, and then like I was rushing from lunch. So that earlier in that weekend, I had met this guy from a friend, and like I thought he was super cute. He asked for my number. Like we were all out together one night and like
Yeah.
made this connection. And so he was like wanting to get a drink before I went on my trip because I was leaving for my trip like the next Tuesday or whatever. So like
Okay.
2 days later. And he wanted to go on like a date before then. And so I'm like rushing from this girl like lunch to go meet him for a drink somewhere like close by. I'm like on my way from the Mexican restaurant to this place, which is like round trip 5 to 7 minutes max.
Okay.
And by the time I got there, I am sweating stark white. My heart rate is over 180. I'm sitting in my car, and this is like what's happening. So I get out. It's like scary enough to me where I literally walked up to strangers on the sidewalk who were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like,
Wow.
and they were like, "Sit down." And keep in mind, so I'm in the parking lot of the place I'm meeting this guy, and he's texting me like, "Where are you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my God." So the lady, obviously, I don't even see this because I'm in crisis. I literally walk up to these people. I'm like, "Hey, can you help me? Like, I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack, whatever." It was like my heart rate is still like really pumping, and it was really scary. So the lady or the guy calls 911, and then the lady takes my phone and calls my parents. Obviously, easy to find. It says mom and dad.
Yep.
One of them went inside to like get me some water. So she gives me my phone back. I text my date, like I'm sitting outside, like I don't know what's going on, and like try to briefly explain to him that I'm like freaking out. So
Mm-hmm.
I am mortified, embarrassed. So emergency services come, of course. It's a whole fucking production in front of this restaurant. Fire truck comes first, of course.
Always. They always come first.
Like, what do you need a fire truck for? I mean, this was bad enough, but okay. So we had the fire truck. They like take the vitals. They're still concerned. So the ambulance gets there. I get in the ambulance, and they're like, things are still like way. So I think when the firemen got there, I was around like 140, 150 heart rate, like sitting still on the ground.
High.
And like
That's
I'm very active. So it takes a lot to get to that like point for me. And
Yeah.
like in an active sense, um, like to give our listeners an idea, my resting heart rate's around like anywhere between 45 and 60. It's like super
That's
low.
over double.
Yeah,
Okay.
triple at one point. So like it was terrifying. So I got in the ambulance and it's still over 120. And they're like, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm not going home like this. This is like
Yeah.
not going well." So finally they close the door to the ambulance, like, and every bit of adrenaline I had just, and I start sobbing. And thank God the paramedics were so sweet. The girls like complimenting my pedicure and like how nice my feet were. And I was like, "Yeah, I just got them done," and I'm crying. I hate needles, but they like put an IV in my arm and I didn't even care. I'm just like so scared and laying there, and like
Yeah.
it was terrible. So we get to the hospital. I'm on like an EKG like monitor thing for 8 hours. My date came to the hospital with my parents. So that was a whole thing. Never spoke to me again since then, of course. But I'm like, why would you come to the hospital then and like act all nice and then just never talk to me again? That shit, like, that just added
Yeah.
to all my other like issues I have about myself and dating and why I'm single at
Yeah.
34. So that didn't help. But like, that experience was so terrifying for me that like am so scared to go back there. And I also have like medical PTSD from my mental breakdown. So it's like the whole thing was just a mess. And the nail salon I've been going to recently is in that parking lot. And the first time I went, I was like terrified it was going to happen again. I was like, you're
Yeah.
okay. Like I had to like deep breathe through it. I'm like, you're okay. You're okay. Just get inside. Like that was a one-time thing. The doctor didn't think it would ever happen again. Like you're fine.
Yeah.
So they think what happened was called SVT. It's supraventricular tachycardia. It happens to a lot of people once in their life.
Oh.
Some people have it chronically. So like I know my friend, her husband has it like genetically somehow. I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
like how that works, but
Yeah.
their one son gets it a lot.
Okay.
And it'll be like 3-hour episodes. So it's like a chronic condition.
Yeah.
But the doctor had told me that he had had it once before and it never happened again. So it was like not a medical emergency. Nothing was wrong with me or my heart, thankfully. But it was like scary AF.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay. Well, and now I've learned something new. So, yay. All right. So I do need to start wrapping up the show because we definitely have chatted, although I am loving our conversation. But what would you tell somebody who's listening right now who is dealing with their own mental health?
If you haven't already started to see a therapist or like definitely therapist or counseling first. If you are not in a point of crisis, I don't recommend going straight to the medication. I mean, I don't recommend waiting till crisis to get on medication, but I always recommend a holistic approach over medication if you can try it, because medication does have a lot of long-term implications.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that getting on medication is a trial and error process. Like you have to take something for 4 to 6 weeks to even see if it works. If it doesn't work, then you have that same process with another medication. It's just a lot. So like
Yeah.
my biggest recommendation to anybody struggling with their mental health is see a counselor or find a therapist. Like I swear by therapy, you don't need to have a mental health issue that you think you have. Like you don't have to feel like you're in mental health crisis to see a counselor. The
Yeah.
sooner you go, like we all have shit to work through. So the sooner you go and like get a counselor or therapist, like the healthier you're going to be anyways. Because then
I
you're not
totally agree.
waiting until it like gets bad.
Exactly. When you wait till it gets so bad, a lot of times you can't implement the strategies that the therapists are going to give you.
Until you're out of crisis. That's like a
Yeah.
pure fact. You can't. So like
Yeah.
you're in therapy through crisis. And then that's my second like part of this is if you're in therapy and you're in crisis right now, don't stop going to therapy when you're out of crisis. That's when you do the work. So like
Yeah.
get out of crisis and then start to try to do the work so that you don't end up back in crisis again.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing with medication. Medication's great. And I've tried going off of it when I shouldn't have, and I didn't have medical approval to do so. But the point I'm trying to make is that medication is not the solution. It is a part of the solution. Like I said, it's holistic. I learned for myself that I need medication and I should not go off of it. That didn't go well. But that alone did not fully help me. That in conjunction with the therapy I did is what helped me.
The therapy definitely helps people more than the medication. I just think people don't realize that. So like the medication helps you be in a state of mind to do the work.
Exactly.
So medication is helping you chemically balance yourself so that you're able to do like work that you need to do to be happier and healthier every day.
Exactly.
So just
You've got to
relying
do the
on
work.
it. Yeah, it can't be your crutch to like get through. You have to continue. And like another thing is like if you're going to go to counseling or therapy or you're in counseling or therapy, it is your job to do the work. Like I know you're paying somebody, but they're not doing it for you. They can't. They're there to guide you And so you need to come prepared to work every day. And like, it's not easy. You're not going to sit on a couch and like boo-hoo the entire time. I mean, I do that sometimes, of course. Like everybody needs to let the emotions out.
Yeah.
But you need to like, it's not a woe is me thing. You need to show up and be prepared to work, because the woe is me attitude doesn't work in therapy.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's okay to grieve and to feel sorry for yourself and to be sad for yourself and sad for the way you feel in the moment. Like, that's normal, but you can't like live in that space.
Exactly. That is great advice. So now tell everybody where they can get their hands on your book.
The best place I tell people to get it is Amazon. It's called The Anxiety Diary of an Ordinary Girl, and it's by me. Has a picture of me and my kitty on the cover, animated, of course. And yeah, you're gonna have to send me your address after this, and I'll send you a copy.
Oh yes, that would be awesome.
Obviously for the cat spam.
Well,
but...
yeah, clearly. My one, again, a little off topic, but I just did a kid's book in March, and I based it on the cat that I had growing up, and I had her, she passed away, I want to say it will be 3 years ago this summer now, and I had her for like 19 years. So I did a cartoon version of her for this kid's book. It's called Diamond the Cat, because her name was Diamond, and in it, on the end page, I have the end, and then all around is like, what's that word? Oh, not montage, because that's in a show. Whatever. Collage, that's the word. A collage of all real life pictures of her, so people can actually see her.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love cats so much. She was just like, she got me through so many of my depressed days.
Yeah.
I just go and hug her, that I'm like I still just want her back. Actually, for my birthday last year, my stepdaughter got me a blanket with her face on it.
Oh my gosh, how cute.
Yeah, she's like, I win everything forever now, because everything's a competition in my life.
Absolutely.
So,
in life.
Yeah. So I was like, yep, you definitely win all birthday competitions, because you got me Diamond on a blanket.
That's so amazing.
But yeah, definitely, I would love to get my hands on a copy of your book.
Yes, I will send you one. But if you aren't on our show right now, then you can get it on Amazon. I always tell people I think it's the best, because like I will like manually do sales on there, and also Amazon Prime shipping. So you don't have to pay for shipping, and it comes in 2 days. And then it's also on Books A Million and Barnes and Nobles. Yeah, I think so. There's one other place too. I just don't remember. Like, randomly, book places are weird. It'll like pop up like on random stores.
Okay.
And normally my marketing girl will tell me, but Barnes and Nobles, Books A Million, and then I always say Amazon's the best place to get it though, because of the shipping being free.
Yes, I love free shipping. So now when I have to ship stuff, so like I have a merch store. Well, this is from the merch store. Advertise for a sec. And
I love that shirt.
Thanks. You can get your very own.
I'm going to. Let me jump to the merch store.
Yes. So but because I'm so used to free shipping, because we have Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I have to pay for shipping for my own stuff. But I do, because I mean, I want to have it and promote it, and it is really important. And 10% of the proceeds go back to the Canadian Mental Health Association.
That.
But yeah, I'm just so used to free shipping that anytime I go somewhere and I'm like, oh, it's not free. Do I want it that bad? Really?
Literally, that's me every time. Like, you don't offer free shipping. What is this crap?
Right? We've just become so accustomed to free shipping. All right. So, and where can people find and follow you?
So you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook at Carrie Thompson author. And then you can find me on my website at www.alwaysgrowingwithgratitude.com. My blog is on there, and then all of the articles I've contributed to are on there as well.
Nice. I love the title of that.
It's my LLC.
Love it. So thank you, Carrie, so much for being on the show and indulging me in all of my tangents.
It was so much fun. Easily the best podcast episode I've ever done. It was really fun.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.
She was so much fun. And then we just kept talking and We got so many ideas that maybe we'll do like a little joint venture. I'll keep you posted on that. Of course, because we did keep talking, if you are part of our Patreon page, then we will have some behind the scenes footage of our conversation. And then you can find out what our potential venture might be, unless it's announced before then. But I don't think so. You'll probably be the first to know. So head on over there to the Patreon page and check it out for sure. As well, make sure that you hit up her links down in the description below because we always want to support our guests on the show here. Hit the like and subscribe button for the Write or Die show because we need to make sure to get this message out. Share the episodes with everybody you know. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.